Kreku was taken to the guild hall to receive medical attention, and Diana and Warren were taken away by Ryu and Adri, who brought them to Shakti. They were quick to do so because they weren't sure if they were powerful enough to keep them under control. But by the time they woke up, Shakti had gotten a hold of them. And she was not happy about having one of her fellow members harassed by two people who had poured their energy into bullying a child. "So you're the ones who've gone and hurt Kreku. I have no tolerance for people who pick on children, especially when said child happens to be Kreku. You call yourself his sister, yet he's told me everything about how you put him through hell again and again. Tell me, what justification is there in torturing your own sibling who once loved you, and don't lie about some bullshit he did because Lord Genisha is standing right there." She held her spear at her with a powerful stare that could make a minotaur sweat bullets. Unlike the adventurers she faced earlier, Shakti is a mid-level 2, so Diana stands no chance against her. Well, oh well, you know how he is, always running around doing whatever he wants to do. Undermining authority and talking back constantly, isn't it insufferable? She asked. He has careless tendencies, yes, but no more than anyone else, and compared to most kids his age he's actually very intelligent, and he would never give harm to anyone on purpose. Has he ever sought to harm you or ruin your life? Diana started sweating but tried to maintain her composure. No, he didn't. A foot was engraved into her chest and she fell on her back. The hell is wrong with? A spear was pointed at her face. Don't talk unless I ask a question. I'm not above killing you. Unlike my kid sister, ending a life isn't something that's off the table. And thanks to you he's unconscious and he would never know how you died. Or if you died, the only one who would know the truth is us. And even then you'd eventually fade away and become a mere memory, a horrible, horrible memory. Diana bit her tongue, now understanding what position she was in. Now tell me honestly, why'd you come to Orero looking for Kreku in the first place? She asked calmly. Well, it's because, the reason is, we were trying to get him to work with us so we can convince him to come back home with their mom. Warren blurts out. Warren, she wasn't talking to you, so keep your mouth shut, you dumbass. I didn't think. That's right, you didn't think, you never think things through, you just say whatever's on your mind without thinking of the ramifications, she said angrily. I told you only to speak when spoken to. Spear went past her. Diana's face went pale as her cheek had a huge cut on her left cheek. Warren, please elaborate further. Did his mother put you two up to this? Because from what Jinx said she was already informed that he was here in Orero and she had no plans to force him back with her. The dwarf sighed. Yes, there was never a requirement for him to leave the city, and we were both aware of that, but Diana just wouldn't stop obsessing over the fact that he got away from her. Especially when their mother threw her out of the house. Shakti looked intrigued. Go on, she said as she was chaining up Diana's hands with a chain that was provided to her by Genisha. 2 weeks ago Kreku confessed that you two held him hostage and tortured him. Is this connected with that? He lowered his head in shame. Yes, after that day he was livid with his mother and the two got into a heated argument. This led to her hitting him, causing him to bleed from his mouth. Warren goes on to explain that as soon as his father found out he was furious with her and took him away from her without a second thought. He told the village chief about it and she lost all custody of Kreku. And the chief wouldn't allow her to be anywhere near him unless Diana was removed from the house and she was supervised, and he himself wanted to see her. Outside of all of that, she had no rights as his mother anymore. She begged and pleaded with his dad to be allowed to apologize to him, but he was not willing to allow her anywhere near him after a betrayal like that. If she broke any of these agreements they'd arrest her. Child protection laws in their home village are very serious. It's been that way since Jing changed the requirements for parental custody. So you wanted to bring him back to his mom's house despite what she did to him. He has Falna. Don't give me that. By that logic I can do this without feeling guilty. She chops the side of her face, causing her to bleed from the mouth. And on top of that you were attempting to get your own mother arrested. You are a sick woman. 2 weeks after Kreku had left, their mother was so upset about losing him, she one day had a change of heart. She had started to think that Diana was more problematic than she was willing to admit. She sat down when I was over one day. But when I got there she was being scolded very harshly by her mom, who somehow found out everything she did and how she was lying to her about the things that her brother had done, or in this case didn't do. She stared at her with a furious look. What things have you accused him of? She asked. I have accused him of attacking me unprovoked and lying to the village chief about what I was doing. I also framed him for hospitalizing his fellow karate students when I'm the one who did it. I thought we'd be better off without him, but my mom ended up finding out somehow and she was horrified and furious with me and threw me out. And told me to never come back, and she told me that I ruined him and her lies made her ruin her relationship with him, and unless I could magically undo the damages she only had a son she threw away. Ganesha was silent and Shakti gripped her spear. So you blew up your life and you were gonna use him to fix your problems. What were you gonna do, force him to forgive you and your mom? Well, what choice do I have? I lost everything because of him. I wish he was dead, she shouts. Shakti snapped at her and she raised her spear. Shakti, no. Ganesha pleaded, the world will be better off without her. She was enraged that Diana, who was related to the one who was like a younger brother to her, hurt him so deeply. She needs to be detained, humiliated, and instant death will be too good for her. Let her live with her own hatred and malice, in a place where only she suffers from it. Prison City Kimetsu will be a fitting place for her. Please, Kreiku looks up to you. What would Adri think? Make the right decision, Shakti. She grits her teeth. What happens when she gets out? She's definitely not gonna let this go. By then everyone will know the truth about her. She stared her down. I've made my decision, and it's time for me to put an end to this madness. You've had a good run, running away from the consequences of your actions, beating up children and causing trauma to the people who loved you. Well, it's your turn to suffer now. Any last words? Diana grins, can't wait to see his face when he finds out you're a murderer from the heavens, bitch. She raised her spear to her forehead, bold to assume that you're even going to heaven, rot in hell. She drives her spear into the villainous werewolf and blood splatters all over the wall. She laid down on the ground, as she bled out. You made the right choice, I know. It wasn't easy. She took out a potion. I honestly wasn't sure if I could still control myself enough to restrain myself from killing her. Driving it into her shoulder will do for me. Have everyone else use the status thief. I have to go see somebody. She exited the room and found Clover and Adri waiting outside for her. Clover, you're recovered already? She asked, looking at him. Yeah, I'm not fully recovered, but I'm about 80%, she said as he posed before feeling a muscle strain. Make that 75, he said in agony. Moron. The nurses said no sudden movements for the next day. Adri nags. Is he home yet? Asked Shakti. Unfortunately no, although most of his injuries aren't serious. He unknowingly had some serious burns on his arms and they needed to keep him overnight to treat it. When he was healed, the burns on his body didn't cool down or subside, but they started to get better after he was splashed with anti-curse. Shakti's face turned pale. Don't worry, he's fine. The civilians, on the other hand, there's been a report of at least 19 people who died from life-threatening burns. There were no remains because they were instantly reduced to ash. Apparently before Diana revealed herself she had murdered people in cold blood. Shakti punched the wall. Neither of you tell him that. He probably hates himself right now. I don't plan to, but I think he can sense the truth. He's more perceptive than she lets on. The best we can do is be there for him. I can't understand how someone can hate their siblings so much. He did absolutely nothing to deserve all of this. Clover said. Before joining the Ganesha Familia he had an older brother that he had a close relationship with. So the idea of an older sibling actively using their younger siblings to fix their problems makes him sick. But he clapped his hands together. But let's just keep up the good fight. At least we actually caught her, so more people are gonna be reduced to ashes thanks to us. And we can use the status thief to find out which god she belongs to, and then she'll be in big time trouble. Clover eagerly suggested. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go get the status thief. Let's just leave it alone for now. You two deserve some rest. We'll interrogate her further in 2 days. If I go back in there right now, I feel like I'm going to end her life if she makes me snap again. Two gentle arms wrapped around her from behind and she felt her rational thought return to her. How many times have I told you not to hug me in front of others? She asked. How many times do I have to tell you that hugs from your sister are good at any time? Besides, you look like you really need one right now. The following day the two Varma sisters plus Clover went to see Kreiku in the guild's infirmary. Hey, our little brother, how's our favorite mage feeling? Clover said, walking into his room with a basket of candy. We know we can't make your pain go away overnight, but we're still gonna try our best to be there for you. I hope your burns are treated, because there's a huge hug from me just for you, Adri said. Look, I know you're probably feeling extremely guilty about the situation with the fallen people in Orero, but just because you're related by blood to a murderer doesn't put the blood on your hands. All of them approached the bed only to find out that it was completely empty with nothing there but a note. Oh no, Token's been kidnapped. Adri yelled in a panic. But she was hit by Shakti. You're disturbing the patients, and he hasn't been kidnapped. The Guildhall is practically untouchable. Besides, knowing him he would have fought back and there's no signs of a struggle, Clover said, picking up the note. It had a gesture emblem on the back of it. Note: Hi Shakti, I'm very sorry for what you've been through recently and I apologize for being unable to help. If we'd known that Diana would show up I wouldn't have left with the rest of the Loki Familia, so I'm gonna take Token off your hands for a while. He wasn't himself and I personally blame myself. I'm a terrible father and need to start prioritizing his well-being. I don't regret letting him join with you, but he'll be staying with me for a while. I already informed Lady Loki and she's completely cool with it. He'll be back to his old self in no time. Love Jing, P.S. Token hopes you're all okay. Clover sighed. See, no kidnapping, just a dad who wants to fix his mistakes. Although I don't personally blame him, he's certainly a lot better than my dad, Clover explained. Adri hugged him gently, much to his surprise. Well, this is unexpected, but is it really okay for him to stay in another familia for so long? Technically he should have joined the Loki Familia and I don't understand why he didn't, Shakti explained. I honestly feel kinda guilty for saying this, but I'm glad he didn't. I love having Token with us. Ever since we met him it's been more lively. Like our own little family. The cool and mysterious older sister, the peppy charming energetic younger older sister, the troublemaking brother, and the cute youngest brother. And Lord Genisha is like our dad, Adri said cheerfully. I admit he's useful to have around, but let's make sure Finn doesn't try to snatch him from us. Adventurers like him are a silver coin a dozen, Shakti said, rubbing her temple. Sis, you worry too much. There's no way he'd want to leave, right?